Hello?
I was gonna say, is it locked?
I'm easily confused.
Yeah, you come right on in whenever you get here.
Vahagan?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Good. We're glad you're up there. I don't know exactly where he is up there, but Vahagan,
Yes,
can you just give us a little, like a 1, 2, 3, so we can make sure we can hear you?
1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
I would like to call the meeting to order. This is the City of Urbana Human Rights Commission meeting, Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. Tom, could you do a roll call, please?
Shalini Smith.
Here.
Peter Resnick.
Here.
Fahagan Shiflikan,
Here.
Jerry Fry, Charles Davidson, Adam Ruggieri,
Present.
Ann Panthen.
Here. Thank you. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of minutes for the January 13th, 2026 meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll put forth the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, public input. Do we have public input? Okay. So unfinished business, we have a discussion of the Human Rights Commission and union labor expectations, which I think is Pete and Adam's subcommittee.
Yes, so we finally got together with Carla and Tom and started our discussion. Just by way of reminder, this is the same part of the ordinance that we review contracts and vendors for the city to make sure that the contractors and vendors are living up to their equal opportunity obligations. That ordinance also says that we should be reviewing unions that do business through contractors with the city. So we started discussing, and Carla and Tom can fill in with details of the direction we're going, but we started discussing the current procedures that we use for contractors and vendors, the forms that we use for them. They've gone and forwarded us that information, and we're going to start going through and trying to establish what changes need to be made to those forms for unions. For instance, we've got things on that form like the employees that are going to be assigned to the city of Urbana. Well, this will be union members instead. Overturn might look different, maybe in terms of membership instead of employees. So we're reviewing all that. And obviously, we're going to have to come up with a full procedure, the forms we're going to need, and then Tom and Carla are going to have to discuss it with other members of city departments, city staff, to make sure that they're all understanding where in the process this is going to happen. And so we're moving forward. I don't know if, Adam, you have any comments, and then we can put it to Tom and Carla if you have any questions about details.
No, I think you covered it pretty succinctly. That's basically what we're doing right now, and we look forward to putting more work into that.
We're going to take a look at the form that we're currently using for employers and vendors and contractors to see what questions on those forms we can clarify to get more information. For instance, when we ask them about, do you work with unions, we might have them actually put down those names on that form and that contact information so that we can then begin another process.
And when you say the names, you mean the names of the unions, is that?
Correct,
Yeah.
that's right.
And do you feel, or do all of you feel, as though we know most of the unions that work locally?
We have an idea. When we do the EEOC certifications for many of the contractors, in the letters that they send us, those letters are directly to the union workers, the unions that they are working with. So we have a baseline. So we're going to develop a spreadsheet with that baseline, and then, as Tom said, add more information to try to elicit that information from the contractors.
Yeah. And since they're not all local companies, that could, we have no idea what would be out there.
I think that's why the letters are going to be very important.
Yeah.
That we can start there. because I believe at our last meeting, there were some unions from Connecticut and Maryland, and so
Yeah, yeah.
we'll have our work cut out for us, but at least we have a starting point.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Carla, Tom?
So we're going to start that review, and hopefully within the next few meetings, we'll come back to the entire commission for input into what we've worked on so far. And eventually, I would expect that we would bring a motion before the entire commission to approve the procedures and the forms we'll be using, and then hopefully, like our workforce reviews, you'll start seeing union reviews in the packet.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much for either volunteering or being volunteered to, however it worked out, for doing that. It's a lot of work, I think, or it can be a lot of work, but necessary. So thank you. Okay. New business. So the first item of new business is the discussion of the surveillance technology ordinance, which Tom sent out with the packet, and hopefully you've had a little chance to take a look at it. Really, in that ordinance, Section 8, I think, is the pertinent section that would impact us. The council is, I think, basically requesting HRC and CPRB, Civilian Police Review Board, to act as an overseer, sort of the police surveillance equipment. So we wanted, before we just agreed, we wanted to have a discussion at this level of what we think about the amount of work we think it would be, about whether we're equipped for this work. It's, I think, important to consider everyone's opinion. So I hope that you had a chance to read it and that you've been able to sort of form an opinion about, the section itself is small, but I think the amount of work could be big. I don't know. I think it's new. We don't really know what the workload would be. I also don't know if we would be equipped to do it, or trained to do it, or willing to do it. So do any of the commissioners have a viewpoint that you'd like to share?
My general attitude is that I'm willing to do it, but your other 2 points, what will be required and will we be given the training to do so, are very important, because that's not the kind of thing I would want to make a mistake doing.
Sure.
I guess first I have a question, which is, what is the state of the ordinance? Is it still in committee? Has it passed yet?
I don't believe it's passed yet, and I believe it's still in committee. Yeah.
So, my initial reaction was, this does seem like a task better suited to the CPRB, for at least most of what I read. I certainly, like Adam, am willing to take on the task. It's not like our meetings drag on forever. One more task might not be so horrible, but I suspect that the folks on the CPRB will always have more experience and more training on this. It would be adding a different kind of responsibility to CPRB than they're used to. So I guess my question is, why the city council thought we would be suited for the task?
I think it has something to do with that they're looking at a discrimination case. If someone wanted to submit a discrimination complaint against a city employee that was using some type of surveillance, or they believe that it was used inappropriately. To me, it seems like it would be a 1222G.
Right.
And I know that in the past, some of the commissioners who had to do those 1222G complaints did not feel equipped to be able to do those complaints, to do an investigation and to be, you know, someone who's having to look at all of that information critically without having any training, any really understanding of how standards are met for discrimination cases and things like that. And so my concern is that that would put this board and these board members in that position. And I don't know if Chair Panthen would like to speak on that. She did the last 1222G complaint, and there was a lot of extensive work that had to be done on that, and I would let her share.
Yeah, I think, I guess it's been 2 years now. I did the Hope Village situation, which I mistakenly thought would be somewhat straightforward. It turned out to be really not straightforward at all. And I know, Pete, that you've done 1222Gs, and I don't know how convoluted they got in your situation.
The ones that, I think I've only done 2, and they were relatively straightforward just because of the nature of the complaint that came in, and I think it's gonna, you know, in general, 1222G complaints, it's gonna depend on the kind of complaint that's involved. I mean, the Hope Village one, I'm just from your write-up, that was a lot of figuring out what the discrimination case was, figuring out, who was involved, who made certain decisions. I guess my inclination would be that if we had a little more clarity on what the kind of discrimination possibilities are, that might make it easier. 1222G is pretty open-ended as far as what someone could come and say was a case of discrimination. So perhaps we could figure out some sort of language in, consultation with the council or with staff as to what the nature of the discrimination that we're going to be looking into is. That might simplify the process, because I absolutely agree with you. The one you did was neck deep.
Was,
And figuring out under what description of discrimination we're talking about here, and what your level of investigation was supposed to be gets pretty complicated, so.
yeah, it was very complicated, and I sure don't, I would not wade into that again. I think we would direct the citizens that showed up that day to IDHR directly, and sort of gotten ourselves out of it. They could have done a more in-depth interview themselves, and maybe that would have, kind of been a better approach, but.
If to answer Commissioner Resnick's question, we can't pinpoint what the discrimination would be because it's with surveillance, and there's not just one surveillance tool that the city would use, so it could be anything. But figuring out if it meets the definition or the standard for discrimination, the board isn't trained for doing that. I had to get trained, I had to take significant hours in training in order to be able to do that, and being able to even know if it is a complaint, a discrimination complaint, you have to meet that standard. And so that was my concern, where the Illinois Department of Human Rights, they are more equipped to be able to handle something like that.
I'd say, you know, and I think one of the council members made this comment in what Tom sent. The question is, under what portion of discrimination might it fall? Because I think it would be relatively straightforward, if someone came and said, look, I was surveilled for such and so reasons, and I happen to be black, and people who are white did not get surveilled in the same way, right? Then it's a race-based case of discrimination, whether surveillance is involved or anything else, right? Some city service was not applied to them the same way it would be applied to other folks. I think then the question is, okay, you know, you're doing the standard kind of, was there disparate treatment kind of review. And that's why I was trying to get my head around what other kinds of discrimination are we even plausibly talking about?
Well, the ordinance spells out that we have 4 areas. It's credit, public accommodation, housing, and oh, I forgot the 4.
Credit,
housing,
employment,
employment.
housing, and
And
public
so
accommodation.
it's under
But that doesn't apply to 1222G.
yeah, but 1222, yeah, it gets convoluted because the ordinance is not applied to the city, but yet 1222G is.
So 1222G is discrimination as per section, I forget, which describes what discrimination is, in the provision of city services. I could go look it up. But yeah, so the housing employment is all part of Division 3. Is it part of Division 2? So I think it's application of Division 3 against city services was the way, or now I'm gonna have to scroll down and peek. That the city is engaged in a discriminatory practice as defined in Article 3, Division 2 of this chapter, and then we're supposed to investigate that. So it's not in employment, et cetera, is it discriminatory in what the city, in the services that the city is doing? So I guess it's, you know, like I said, I kind of understand race, gender, and then someone would have to make a case for I'm being treated differently, or maybe a disparate impact. And yeah, I mean, it would be interesting.
Yes, it would be interesting, however. One of the questions I have, and, you know, I don't know, Carla, if you can go back and clarify some of these things for us, is that the route that we will go with this?
It's up to you guys. If you
Yeah.
have questions, we can go back and get those answered.
So in Section 8 of the proposed ordinance, Section 8, B, it says the Civilian Police Review Board and the Human Rights Commission shall hear complaints. So does that indicate that wherever the complaint landed, that commission will be the group that hears the complaint? Or,
I believe so, because the CPRB, they review complaints only for police. They don't review any other kind of complaints. They don't review any of the
Yeah.
discriminatory complaints, only complaints against police officers.
right. And in theory, the only complaints about this surveillance should be police.
Well,
From
you know,
the-
we're not sure. I don't know, because it's going to, I'm looking at the city administrator for help. Because I don't believe they've settled the decision or the question of, will it be the entire organization or will it just be police?
So maybe, I don't know, Public Works would have a drone, they would fly over a field, or the fire department would use it to search for missing people, or that kind of thing. So I suppose it could land in a different city department. And, so maybe it wouldn't be police every time, but I would say the bulk of the situations would involve the police department. That would be looking at the list of types of surveillance. So if you can maybe clarify if the board, the commission that would review it is the commission that the person complains to, I guess.
In theory,
Because I don't know that we would join up and hear it, that both commissions would.
no, I believe it would be specific to if it was a discrimination complaint
Right.
versus a complaint against a police. But I believe those things have to be ironed out yet.
Okay.
So interestingly, it occurs to me that none of the current commissioners have gone through a hearing. And before a hearing, we had always gotten a training by whoever was going to be our hearing officer, usually an attorney, whoever was going to serve as our judge, about what we were looking for in terms of evidence, how we make decisions about discrimination. And I'm wondering, now that we've got 1222G in the ordinance, maybe we have to do a more regular training on how decisions about discrimination cases go. Maybe not as an extensive one as you did for your training as the officer, but as I was describing it earlier, and doing a disparate impact versus doing disparate treatment, those are probably terms that we haven't all gone over and learned how to make those distinctions. And if we all got that training, maybe this wouldn't be as horrible a task as we are worried about.
I would like to know what I don't know.
I appreciate that. That's something that could happen, but I want you to be mindful of, you are already doing this work. It's going to include additional time and commitment from the entire commission. And also, you brought it up that we haven't gone to a hearing, that we have to be mindful that the commissioners are the second level in discrimination cases, where we don't give you those cases because you're the second level of decision-making. And then it might go to a hearing where you become the third level of decision-making. And so would it be proper is a thought.
So long as it's within the confines of 1222G, right? This is why I was thinking in terms of we want sharp edges around what we're being asked to do. Because we don't want something that's eventually going to come to us in a full hearing. Now, normally, nothing against the city, a complaint against the city couldn't come to us in a full hearing, but we've got to be crystal clear that, right, someone comes in and makes a complaint and it turns out it's not really against the city, it's against one of the manufacturers of the cameras that, they put up around the city or something like that. Then yes, we can't be doing that investigation first and then have it come back to us in a hearing. That would disqualify whoever the commissioner was that did the investigation. So we want real sharp lines about what we're going to be asked to do.
The rules around our jurisdiction are the company has to be here.
Right.
So that makes it.
It might make it much
makes it
easier to deal with.
Tricky if the company is just in Champaign. We don't have jurisdiction over any business that someone wants to bring a complaint against.
Right.
That's why I said it, even though they say it belongs in Article 3, if there's crossover, if there's a complaint, because the rules of how I investigate a complaint, I have to follow those standards. And if someone says, well, the people who I'm just going to use this as an example, the license plate readers. They want to charge a discrimination complaint against the camera owner or the camera manufacturer. If they're not in Urbana, they would have to go to either IDHR or that state's
Right.
department, their human rights department. So it becomes tricky, and that's what I'm saying. It isn't sharp edges.
Well, so I think what I mean by sharp edges is the ordinance should be specific that any complaints coming with regard to surveillance come through 1222G and no other way. That's the only way we take them in these cases, which makes it about the city, not about any contractor or, vendor. And then if that's what the city council puts in the ordinance, then we need to get together and have a discussion about our procedures, what exactly we are going to do as far as jurisdiction review first, and then what the investigation might, entail. I think, again, my reaction is it's not impossible. It's got some clear things that need to be dealt with. But the fact of the matter is anybody with a complaint against the city about discrimination can come to us under 1222G anyway. So maybe the answer is the city council doesn't need to put anything in this ordinance, because if someone wants to say the city's discriminating in some way, whether it's about surveillance or the way they're, fixing the road in front of their house, that's going to come to us through 1222G one way or the other. So they may not have to say anything about us in particular. CPRB, this would be clearly adding to their remit. Whereas if all we're saying is it's a complaint against the city about discrimination, that would come to us in the normal way.
I'm just thinking about relief, because there's two different reliefs based on how the discrimination complaint comes.
Again, 1222G, you're not allowed to investigate those kind of complaints. Those would come to us. If it's about a company, a vendor, that would go to you, and you would investigate it the normal way you would investigate it. So I guess the question back to the council is there something beyond 1222G that they want us specifically to do in this ordinance? Because if the answer is no, we just want you to investigate complaints with regard to discrimination by the city, then they don't have to put anything specific about us in here, unless they want an informational reference to 1222G.
Yeah, and then that could easily be inserted.
Yeah, any complaints with regard to the city are addressed under section 1222G of this, whatever.
And I do agree that the logical place for it to land as a regular review or whatever for the annual report, the use policy, which is all listed in section 8A, that is a CPRB responsibility.
Yeah.
It's perfectly clear. I don't know how they feel about it, but I agree with Pete. I think that we don't need to be mentioned. Those would come automatically if they come to us at all, that under 1222G or you. That's where I would land on it. I was also concerned about adding workload because, the reports that we get every month are, 140 to 165 or 70 pages. That's a lot to review. I don't feel like I want to add much more to that. Vahagan,
Yes.
do you have any thoughts on that?
No, no questions.
Okay. Shalini?
I'm honestly going to agree with you on that one. I really do think the workload may or may not be a lot. Like there is no way to know
True? We don't know.
Also, we don't have a full commission. Like, if we had a full 9 people, I feel like it would be a lot easier to tackle the workload, but we don't.
Yet. I'm
Yes, yeah.
optimistic. So, are you comfortable with with what we've said? Is that, I mean, do you feel like you understood? We did ramble.
I think I have some of your notes down of concerns that we can share with the
Okay.
council.
Okay.
It's being recorded, so if
Oh, yes.
we didn't catch it, the cameras caught it, hopefully.
Okay.
And then the question of beyond, what are they asking beyond 1222G?
Yes.
And so is the council expecting a communication from us directly, or when the minutes come out and we agree that, yeah, that's what we said at the last meeting of what we want to find out, that should be sufficient?
I believe they are going to want to hear specifically from the commission. It may be
Okay.
from Ann or a representative.
So maybe just, once you hear the minutes and, get them written up for this meeting, send them out, we review them, and then at the next meeting, we can approve a statement from Ann to the council. That seems straightforward.
Is that timeframe good?
Will that be okay? Their next meeting
A month.
in 1 month?
March 17th? Is that good? Great. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to the receipt of automatic 2-year EEO certifications.
All right, so the following companies are eligible for automatic EEO certification or recertification. Corame Incorporated, Arch Equipment Group LLC, and CloudPoint Geospatial.
Okay, and just as a reminder, those are companies with fewer than, is it 20 and fewer? 20 and under employees, so they are automatically accepted. And then we have the larger companies.
All right, so the following companies have applied for EEO certification or recertification. My apologies if I butcher any of these names. Cogent Incorporated, doing business as Vanter Engineering for 2 years. Hair Construction Incorporated for 2 years. JP Excavating and Trucking Incorporated for 2 years. MGT Impact Solutions LLC for 2 years. Michaels Construction Incorporated for 2 years. And WMI Automotive, doing business as Champaign Ford City for 1 year.
Do we have a second?
I will second that.
I just wanted to comment on Cogent, which is the very first one, doing business as Vanter Engineering. I found their numbers to be, I wrote it down somewhere, I can't find it. Oh, it's a very large population area, but Cogent seems to have trouble finding minorities to work for them. And so I'm wondering about the 2-year recommendation. Carla, do you have any comment on?
Outside of what
Yeah.
outside of my recommendation comments?
Well, this is right outside of St. Louis, right? Yeah. It's
Fenton, it's on the west side of St. Louis.
on the west side. Yeah. So it's in the same, it's in the same county as St. Louis. I know Fenton is not St. Louis, I understand that, it's a suburb, essentially, but, and you did note that their diversity percentages do not mirror that of the larger county, which is 508 square mile county. And so it would, I just thought they were maybe a little low in their ability to find minority, you know, it's a county of over 1 million people, so that's a big work pool.
Well, if you look at it's a large area,
Yeah,
but if you look at actual available workforce,
yeah.
it's about, I would say maybe a quarter of that 1 million people. That's actually not working or available for work. So that, I take that into consideration when I'm looking at their numbers and how people are moving about within the community.
Yep.
Most people are driving at almost a half an hour away to go to work. And so taking that into consideration, this company is based in Fenton. A lot are probably not staying in Fenton for work. They're
Right.
going outside of Fenton.
Right,
And so drawing people there could be an issue. So for those reasons is why I did the 2 years, because most of their workforce is commuting outside of their community.
right,
And it's in a high employment rate. A lot of people are working there.
Yeah.
Not very many people are looking for work. We can't break down who the actual people are who's looking for work.
Sure.
We don't know that.
yeah, okay. Yes?
My reaction was, it's not far out suburb, but it is on the southwest outskirts of St. Louis. It wasn't clear to me that there's a lot of commuting from St. Louis to Fenton, or availability of public transportation, stuff like that. I did a quick look on like Wikipedia and such. And as far as demographics of Fenton itself, they're pretty darn close. You know, again, not,
Right.
as a matter of fact, they seem to be doing a little better than the demographics of Fenton.
Yeah.
So they're clearly bringing in some folks from outside. And so, you know, I was back and forth like you were, but I think 2 years is probably acceptable for this kind of situation.
Okay,
And we also look at the nature of the work.
pump repair.
Services.
Come on, anyone.
I would say anyone could do it, but does anyone want to do it?
I don't know, I looked at this little picture that Tom gave us, and I thought, no. I don't know what all that is, but no. So, okay, well, I appreciate the explanation. Does anyone else have comments about any of the companies that, or the recommendations? Bahagan?
No, thank you.
Do you have any comments or questions about any of the companies that we're looking at, the certifications?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, seeing no more questions or comments, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Officers report.
And while Carla's bringing that up, Ann, did you ask for public input at the beginning?
I did.
I was asleep at the wheel, sorry.
Did you have public input?
I'm not being very public, no.
Okay.
For formal complaints, I'm working to close out 2 employment complaints based on race. Meeting with one of the complainants tomorrow, Wednesday, February 18th. Inquiries and informal complaints. I had one person contact the office about a potential ADA public accommodation complaint based on the circumstances of the incident. And I also checked with the Great Lakes ADA Center, which is the center that services our region, just to get clarification on some of the specifics of the complaint that the person was bringing forward. And a formal complaint was not issued because it did not meet the standard of discrimination. Excuse me. One person came into the office about an employment complaint, no jurisdiction, and I referred them to the IDHR offices and also to the jurisdictional office. It was not located here, but I believe that the community that the employer was in, they have an office. So I looked that office up and sent them that, gave them that information also. For office activity, I presented the James R. Burgess Jr. and Susan Freeberg Humanitarian Award to Dr. Jeffrey Trask at the MLK Celebration event on Sunday, January 18th at 5 p.m. at the Krannert Center for Performing Arts. And there's a picture of me doing that, just that. And although I did not attend this year, there was a Unity Breakfast on Monday, January 19th at 8 a.m. at the Vineyard Church honoring outstanding students, scholars, and community members. I attended the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission meeting for the ADA Compliance Working Group on Tuesday, January 20, 2026 at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. There was a robust discussion about those with mobility challenges being able to successfully navigate Urbana sidewalks. I also completed an ADA virtual conference. I received 24 credits to maintain my ADA coordinator certification. This year's conference focused a lot on web accessibility. I was happy to find out that the city's website has ADA compliance tests built into the website monitoring system, which runs quarterly analytics. And our last check, we were at 97.24% compliance, which is 23% higher than the industry average. And this is getting, I know it's getting a little technical, but we test at the highest 2 accessibility compliance levels. And we're doing really good. I also attended the United Way's Women United Galentine event on Friday, February 6th. And the DEI committee group at Clark Lindsay postponed the Friday, January 16th presentation and rescheduled it for Tuesday, March 17, 2026 at 10 a.m., not 10 p.m. Again, we will highlight general information about the OHRE, the Office of Human Rights and Equity, and the Human Rights Commission, but will promote vacancies for all boards and commissions, and that will be myself and Chair Panthen. And moments in human rights history on February 17th, 1913, the state of Oregon enacted a minimum wage law. The law applied only to women and children. Women earned $8.64 for a 48-hour week, or 18 cents per hour. Children could earn $6 for the week, but could only work the 48 hours before 6 p.m. The first nationwide minimum wage of 25 cents per hour passed into law in 1938. On this date in 1960, Alabama authorities arrest Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on tax evasion. The arrest was more than 3 years before Dr. King wrote Letter from a Birmingham Jail. It was just one of 29 arrests of Dr. King that occurred throughout his civil rights era activism. This specific arrest caught King by surprise, though, because a tax auditor previously had reported King's taxes in order. King responded to inquiries from reporters by stating that those struggling in the cause of freedom need to be prepared for harassment, arrests, and jailing. In 1964, the U.S. Supreme Court decides Westbury v. Sanders, ruling that congressional districts should be approximately equal in population. Prior to Westbury, one of the three similar cases before the court during the 1963-64 term, most states drew districts based on geographic size rather than population distribution. Thus, rural districts typically had more influence than urban districts. The cases including Reynolds v. Sims, the one about the apportionment of state legislatures, brought into focus the phrase, "one person, one vote." After the ruling, 39 states needed to redraw their maps before the November 1964 general election. When legislators in Springfield could not decide on a new map, the Illinois Supreme Court declared one at-large legislative district in effect for the entire state that November. So each voter sorted through 236 candidates for 177 seats on the 33-inch long ballot, which was given the nickname the bedsheet ballot. In the aftermath of the chaos, Illinois voters would adopt a new constitution in 1970, at which time the city of Urbana gained its home rule status. And today, February 17, 2026, the Reverend Jesse L. Jackson died this morning. Jackson, a protege of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., became an iconic civil rights leader himself. The founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, Jackson twice ran for president in 1984 and 88. He became the first African-American candidate to win a presidential primary. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Carla. I'm glad you put Jesse Jackson in. He was the first person I voted for president. And I remember that very clearly. I wasn't a big voter before that, which is embarrassing to say, but he was the first person that I voted for. I always enjoy the moments in history myself. Okay. Announcements. This commission has 2 openings. So if anyone is listening that is interested, contact Carla Boyd at the City of Urbana and put in an application. We'd love you to have you join us. And our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, March 17th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. Do the commissioners have any announcements or comments?
I would just like to add that we have a outreach calendar that we're creating for the rest of the year, including the Saturday Lincoln at the Square events. And that'll be going out through email in the next few days for the commissioners to review their calendars and see if they have some volunteer time available.
That's great. It's really enjoyable to do those, so feel free to sign up and you can hang out with Carla at the farmer's market. She's like a rock star over there. Okay, so if we have no more business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.